My name is Mark Gardner. I'm Chief Executive at CST, Community Security Trust. I want to discuss the current situation here in the UK relative to our communal security and what CST is doing in conjunction with the police and the government. But I want to stress CST is not the police and CST is not the government. We are you and you are us. You give us our people. You're the reason why we do our work. Our children go to the same schools as yours do. We shop on the same streets. We pray in the same shuls. The advice that we give regarding security is the same advice that we and our families go by. So we will always be honest with you about the threat. We did not advise during the course of the last week that schools should shut. We did not advise that people should hide their Jewish identity, whether adults or children. We understand the community's fears and we share those fears. But the situation over the last week here in the UK, whilst very, very upsetting, and there has been a huge spike in anti-Semitic incident levels, things might yet get worse. And if things do get worse here in the UK because of what will likely happen in Gaza, then some measures may need to change. But for now, I ask that you please, please try and be resilient and keep a sense of proportion about what is happening here in the UK as opposed to what is happening in Israel. The response that we have received from police and government, and indeed from across our community, is absolutely unprecedented. Now, we know the lessons because we've been through cycles of violence in the Middle East again and again. We know what happens here in the UK. But the reason why the response has been unprecedented is because what happened was the likes of which we have never seen before, certainly not for a generation. What happened was unprecedented, and therefore the reaction must also be on a completely different level. This is not another cycle of Middle East violence. This is a war, the likes of which, the reason for which, is entirely different to anything that has gone before. So we don't know how long this will take. Our community will need to be resilient in the long term, and the police and the government will work with us on that. Now in CST, we have the world's best developed communal security group. We have over 100 full-time staff. We have offices in London, Manchester, and Leeds. We have over 2,000 highly trained security volunteers, and every single one of us is absolutely dedicated to protecting our communities, and we have all worked tirelessly throughout this time, as have my colleagues and fellow volunteers in all the other Jewish communal organizations, those who are on this call, and many, many other organizations that are not on this call. We have extensive security infrastructure at the schools, at the shuls, at the community centres, and I'm sure that many of you have felt quite a few times that maybe all of that's a little bit over the top, that maybe there's just a little bit too much CST, too many guards, too many checks on people who, perhaps to your mind, obviously, have every right to enter into a shul. But the fact is, those measures exist because we and our community partners and the police and the government know that the Middle East is an extremely volatile neighborhood. We know that it brings a high risk of potential terrorism, and certainly big surges of anti-Semitism because of events there. The measures are in place for times like these, and we're doing everything that we can to increase those measures. Hundreds of schools and shuls across the country have direct CCTV and radio cover with our 24/7 control center. The feeds from the CCTVs can be shared from our control room to the police headquarters in Lambeth and also to responding police vehicles. We've worked with the police all week, and community organisers to secure communal vigils all across the UK. And we've obviously helped to secure hundreds and hundreds of communal locations because that's what we do every week of a normal year. And at a time like this, we do it far, far more intensely. We also have a very sophisticated research and monitoring expertise, which the community doesn't see, but which feeds directly into the police and into CST operations. So when people were very, very nervous about Hamas calling for a day of rage this Friday, and we advised the Jewish community to continue to go about its way of life on Friday, that was because we knew about the police operation that was in place. It was because we knew about the operation that we had in place. And it was also because we knew online that calls for the day of rage were not really having any particular impact here in the UK in the chatter of our enemies. We don't issue security advice just willy-nilly, okay? This is highly professional and skilled. We will always tell you exactly how we see it. We will always be honest about the threat because, as I say, we are you. We are the community, and we go by our own advice. The police and the government are doing all that they can to support us. You'll see if you follow these things, government statements, police statements about what will not be tolerated and about the support that they will give the community. Now, there will be mistakes. The police will miss things because that is the nature and the reality of life and of policing. But overall, their determination to crack down on anti-Semitism, their determination to police demonstrations, to police car convoys, is so much stronger than we've ever seen it before. There have been 3 police officers positioned in CST's main HQ building all week long, and that will continue. That means that if you phone in an anti-Semitic incident to us, we can give it immediately to the police. If you phone in suspicious activity to us that may denote terrorist activity, we give it to the police officer in our office who is there because he works for Counter-Terrorism Command. That's the strength of the contacts that we have. We've been in contact all week long, very, very close operational communication and partnership with senior police officers all across the country and all the way down to local command structures. I was in Downing Street a couple of days ago, sat at the cabinet table next to the Prime Minister for a meeting that he and the Home Secretary chaired with police chiefs from Scotland Yard, with the Attorney General. The rules of engagement were laid out for what would happen with pro-Palestinian demonstrators. And it has shifted. The red lines have shifted. What happened last weekend? A huge, huge act of anti-Semitic terrorism, closer, indeed exceeding many pogroms. Never mind what we've seen recently from ISIS and all the rest of it. This was a huge terrorist attack, the largest loss of Jewish life since the Holocaust. The police understand that. The government understands that. And yes, things will get very, very difficult in Gaza for the Israeli army and for the people who live in Gaza. And that will bring its own problems for us here in the UK. But the determination of the police and the government and the CSC, and I have to say senior figures from the other political parties, especially the Labour Party, the support that they've given to me personally and to CST, and I think more broadly across the community, has been very, very strong. The government gave a £3 million boost for the commercial security guards, not CST. It's not money that goes to CST. It's money that we manage on behalf of the government. It gets paid to the commercial security guards who work at every single school, who work at all of the schools. And this is probably going to amount to a £1 million boost for the next month, and then another £1 million for the month after that, and then another £1 million for the month after that. And when that's done, we will reassess the situation and we'll see what is needed. The police are already making arrests that would not have occurred 2 weeks ago because of the kind of things that are occurring on the demonstrations. When people now express support for Palestinian resistance, That is in the context of support for Hamas terrorism. There is no dubiety around that. It's very, very clear. So the rules of the game have shifted, and groups here in the UK that consistently call for support for Palestinian resistance will feel that impact, and they will deserve to feel that impact. And where that is required on university campuses, or indeed in schools, or in any other sector of public life, we will do our absolute utmost to ram it home with the police and the government, as will many other Jewish organizations who care very, very deeply in this space. I want to finish off just by talking about social media and WhatsApp. We all know that we have reason to be deeply, deeply anxious at this time, but please don't make it worse. The purpose of terrorism, apart from killing people, is to spread fear. Do not do our enemies' work for them. Please, when you receive things on social media or on WhatsApp that says such and such a threat has been issued or an attack took place, please try and verify it before you pass it on. Okay? CST is doing its utmost to dispel rumors the whole time. It's taking up a huge amount of the work of our staff and our volunteers. Last night, I got driven nuts by supposedly a guy had been arrested with a knife trying to get into a shul in Golders Green. It was not true. Somebody had been stopped by police. They did not have a knife. They were not interacting with our Jewish community, and they may have had mental health issues. But it was not what it was portrayed as. I've already mentioned the stuff around the Day of Rage, which caused so many people to keep their kids off school, which I understand. But there was more information out there for you to base your decision upon. You may still have decided not to send your kids to school, but the information was there to enable you to make a better informed decision. On Monday of last week, there was imagery of a shop front in Golders Green that had been smashed. It did look like an anti Semitic attack, but it wasn't. The police and CST clarified very, very quickly that it was a criminal attempt at a burglary. Another shop next door, not a Jewish one, had suffered the same thing. On Tuesday, there was another one that sent us, it's taking up all of our time. This fake news, this over the top stuff. We are scared enough as it is without people adding to that. Please, please be responsible, okay? I'd love you to make sure that you're following CST's social media. Also on our website, we have a page that will be consistently updated with the facts. I think the more reliably informed you are, the better it will be for all of us. CST will be there for you all over the UK, every community across the UK. Where we have a presence, we are there for you. That is our only purpose. We're not interested in politics. We're only interested in protecting our Jewish community. But I ask you to find as much resilience as you can at this difficult time. And I ask that you please also be there for us with that resilience. I'm going to hand over now to Mandy Winston. Mandy's the chief exec of UJIA, and they've been doing incredible work. They're the bridge between our community and Israel when that bridge is most needed. So, Mandy, over to you.